password just real quick. Just to know how many people we're missing today. Okay. So, in that case, welcome to Physics 1510. Fairly certain I haven't met any of you yet. If I have, I apologize. Still can't see half of your face, but you know, we work with it these days. For those who do not know me, I am Joshua Hoffbauer, and I'm going to be your instructor for Physics 1510. I'm operating under the assumption that most of you just came directly from Dr. Rodecore's 1500 class last semester. Okay, mostly nodding. Now, this is the direct continuation from that class. I am obviously not the same person, so things are going to be a little bit different, but my goal is to try to make things as good and consistent for you guys as possible, switching from teachers and teaching styles and where you are, etc. But I'm looking forward to having a good semester with you guys. Obviously, this situation in the world and just in terms of health and wellness is still not ideal, but part of my job is I am committed to make sure we are able to do everything we need to, despite the accommodations that we make to keep everyone healthy. Just speaking about that briefly, you probably noticed the tape as you came in that marks every other seat as off limits. I've done it so that you know the sort of the crosshatch pattern, everyone's about 6 feet apart. So try to sit at the seats that are not marked off, and everything will be fine. We will have class in this room. We will have lab in the same room, actually. You guys were in 126 for your labs last semester. Okay, we'll be in the same room there. This is just the hall that I do my lectures in. And this intro spiel is just going to talk about some of the differences from last semester, some of the things that you are the same, things you should know, etc. So, this is the direct continuation. It's still physics. We're going to be talking about different topics, but what you've already learned still applies. So please don't get rid of any of your old notebooks. For most of my physics career, I've been operating out of the same couple of notebooks because the same physics still applies. It's still the same universe, same laws of physics. Please keep them. Please keep using the information because it all builds on each other. The same energy types and joules you learned about last semester we're using here in this one, just in slightly different ways. Pretty much every subsequent physics class one takes, they take the knowledge they already had, and the professor says, okay, this thing you did isn't perfectly right. Here's how we do it at this level to factor in, you know, the rotation of the Earth beneath you or things like that. It just keeps building up, increasingly more complicated. But even though it is complicated, you guys have already been doing it. You made it into this class, so you're going to keep doing it, and you're going to be just fine. Let's see. Again, I'm obviously you're going to be having a different instructor this semester. There's going to be some differences, but I was actually Dr. Rodecore's student. I got my physics degree from PC, and I did most of my classes from where you are sitting right now. So I have the PC physics experience, and I was a major here as well. Sorry, physics major here, graduated 2014. And so, even though I'm not there's going to be some things in common between the information that we use and the way that we teach. I try to base all of my classes on the same materials as all the other professors so that no matter what instructor anyone gets, you still get the same information. Now 1500, you might have noticed, is mostly about physical topics. Forces, motion, objects physically moving, work being done to move those physical things. All that still applies, but we're going to be taking that base and we're going to be applying it to some more abstract things. The rough order of operations for the semester, we're going to be here for about 4 months. Heat, thermodynamics, electricity, magnetism, sound, and light. Most of the semester, we're going to spend a month, maybe 2 months on the first couple. And because they're just sort of one extended category, our first test is going to be on just these. Then we're going to move into the sparky and magnet categories. And because they are interconnected, the second test will be on these. Then we're going to spend just the end of the semester talking about waves in general, because all of these are things that I feel should be known by a person living on planet Earth, because every single day your body produces heat. You try to avoid or be comfortable in the thermodynamic situation of the weather. The world runs on electricity, and you see and hear with waves. So all of these are things that, A, you should know to be a human on planet Earth. They are handy for you, even if you never pick up a calculator and work on the math we do here again. Knowing these will still help you, no matter what your end career path actually is. These last ones here, the waves category, planning about a month and a half here, a month and a half here. So this is just going to be sort of the last couple of weeks together. And there will not be a waves dedicated test. I like to have 2 tests and then the final so that they're all kind of spaced evenly apart. I'm not trying to cram too much in. So first test, second test, and the final is going to be on all of it. Now, general things that just my advice to students is don't panic. As a general rule, panic is the enemy in most situations. Physics is still hard. It is one of the most abstract sciences that exists. So because it is hard, it is okay if things don't make sense immediately. My classes on magnetism certainly didn't make sense immediately, and I am a physics major. It is okay if it takes time. It is okay if I need to explain it a couple different times, a couple of different ways. It's going to not make sense at first. It's not necessarily the point, but it's part of the process. In line with that, if something doesn't make sense, and I know it won't at first, if something doesn't make sense, I want you to tell me. If I'm up here pointing, talking, saying very abstract things to you, and you're just completely lost, I want you to, if I'm in the middle of talking, you're allowed to just cut me off. We have so few people in here, it'll be fine. Please tell me that you have a question, because I would rather stop and address it than keep moving and build upon what you already are confused by. So please ask your questions as soon as you have them, because I guarantee someone else is probably wondering the same thing. And if I know what you're confused by, it helps me to know what I need to focus on more, or focus on better, or explain in a different way. Because my one explanation that I first give is not going to be compatible with every single person's learning style. That said, every single thing we talk about this semester is stuff that you've seen before in some way. This list of things, You've dealt with them your whole life. You might not have done the math, you might not have used the words we're going to use, but you've still interacted with all of these. Like last semester, you've been working with forces and gravity subconsciously your entire life. You were just putting the new words to it. It's going to be the same this semester. You've been making these observations and assumptions based on those observations your entire lives. And the way that I try to teach this class is I just want you to be able to tap into those things you've been witnessing and just help you understand what you already know. You know physics because physics is the study of the universe, and you've been studying the universe at least since last semester, but also your entire lives. So my methodology is just to help you understand what you already know. Something I personally tell every single student to do is to never leave anything blank, even if you are confused, even if you just don't know how to proceed. Literally, my methodology, my ideal is any answer is always better than no answer. Because no answer is the only way to get a zero. Any answer at least shows that you tried. And usually, jotting down anything gets my brain going. Staring at a blank sheet of paper is incredibly depressing. As soon as there's something on it, you have a starting point. And I will always give some amount of points for any answer given. If you literally can't think of any physics, draw a smiley face, because that's at least a pencil on the paper, and it'll make you smile. That's just how I like to grade. And again, please ask questions. I'm begging you to ask questions. I have had students show up at my office like the day before the test saying, I'm confused about everything, and I haven't asked until today. For both of our benefits, I want us to avoid that. Please ask your questions as soon as you have them. Especially if we end up if we end up having to switch to online only for any length of time, I want you to get in the habit of emailing me on any questions you have. Just get into the habit of it. It makes it easier. Any questions so far? I'm going to ask that a lot as well. Like every 5 or 10 minutes, I just default to any questions. So that's just important to me. There it is. My other quirk is drinking a lot of water, which is complicated by this thing. Stay hydrated. Anything so far? Okay. So, that's just been about the class so far. Now, most of you have not met me yet. I've been up here talking physics, but one of the things I've always liked about this school when I was a student, and now that I'm working here, is I felt like it was easier to get to know my teachers. Like I would come to class and sort of have there was enough I knew enough about them to be able to have a conversation with them and laugh and understand them from a better perspective. And which is, I find that to be complicated by the distancing and the masks. We do them because we have to. I'm going to enforce those rules, but I still want to try to foster that environment that I miss as a student in the classes that I teach. And since I have yet to meet any of you guys normally, just a little bit about me. This is me this was about a year ago. I kind of can't believe my hair got even longer since then. And that is my fiance hiding nervously. Her name is Lula. My name is Joshua Hoffbauer. Nice to meet you all. A brief disclaimer, because whenever a new semester starts and I get emails from students asking, am I going to need this for the class? I'm going to miss the first week, etc. They usually always just assume Dr. Hoffbauer. But I'm probably one of the few lecturers at the school that doesn't have my doctorate just yet. I do have my master's. I am qualified to teach this class. I just don't have the doctorate yet, and I don't want to accidentally make it seem like I do. So I'm asking you not to call me Dr. Hoffbauer, just so that I don't want to spread misinformation. As for what to call me, a lot of my students have defaulted to calling me Prof. Hoff over the years. Any variation of Mr. or Professor Hoffbauer is acceptable. I don't mind. I will know who you're talking to. I was a PC student. I started in 2010 and finished in 2014. Major physics, minor mathematics. There were not many physics majors then. There's not many physics majors now. So it was kind of a small, nice little club. I spent a lot of time on this floor, specifically between this room and the one down the hall, so I'm still getting used to the renovations. After that, I did 2 years at Appalachian State to get my master's in engineering physics, and that's where I started teaching, because I was paid to be a teaching assistant, and that bought me food, so of course I was going to do it. And after working as a teaching assistant for those 2 years, I graduated, I got an engineering job, and every day I sat at that desk, I couldn't help but think, man, all that teaching sure was fun. Certainly better than sitting at a desk programming lumber mills all day. And then I got into teaching physics, and now I'm back here. And honestly, I am very happy with that, because I just like talking about science with people, and I like seeing that moment where something makes sense. So I hope I can help you guys with that. I'm also kind of a big dweeb, and so I encourage and appreciate if you guys ask any goofy science questions that pop into your head, because if you never take another physics class again, you might never get the chance. I know the physics to be able to tell you what doesn't work and what does work in the Star Wars movies. So anything like that pops into your head, please ask. It'll be a nice fun little break, and I can try to tie it back into whatever we're learning about. Stay hydrated and get a good night's sleep. Pardon me. I am a big enough movie fan to at least know something about most of the sci-fi that you asked me about. If I don't, it's just a blind spot in my movie watching history. I'm also just a big goofball, which is why I like to have fun in these classes. I find that learning hard science is less taxing if I at least try to make it interesting, which is why, again, please ask your questions. A couple of fast facts about me right there. Favorite color green, favorite food is pizza, specifically pepperoni. I recently, on a whim, made a pizza out of like an Italian loaf. Like that was the crust and just pizza on top of it, kind of like a pizza sub. And that turned out really good. So maybe pizza might not be round anymore, but it still has pepperoni on it. Yeah, so I'm just a big nerd who likes talking science and things with people. So please don't be intimidated by me. I'm honestly not that far removed from you guys. Well, I guess I started 10 years ago. Oh man, I feel old now. I get off on tangents a lot. Any questions so far? While we're talking about people and identities and names, I am just awful at learning people's names. I'm very good at remembering faces, and I can always put the information that you tell me about yourself to your face, but it takes me eons to learn names, and I want to apologize for that in advance. It's going to take me an embarrassingly long amount of time, and I hate that about the way my brain works, so I am sorry. I am sorry now, I will be sorry in May, but this is a small class, so hopefully I'll have it by then. Okay. A couple more pieces of boring information. I'm going to talk a little bit about the syllabus, although I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's mostly the same syllabus that you already had last last semester. It is available on the class Brightspace page, which the school's been using for, I guess this is the second half of the first year we've implemented it. So, but if you need a brief refresher as to Brightspace, there we go. Everyone should automatically be signed up for the class Brightspace page. We were having a little bit of issues condensing all of the lab sections into a single Brightspace classroom, because when you signed up for this class, you chose your lab time and your lecture time sort of in a combined little hybrid section, EX, EY, EW. And all of those different ones are supposed to be linked into just this one room. When you sign into Brightspace, if it doesn't say, back up, when you sign in, it should say, I love basement internet. It should say off-hour General Physics 2, Spring 2021. If it specifies, okay, I think all the extra sections are gone, but I was having an issue where it expanded this into 6 different rooms, one of them labeled EW, EX, EY, HWA, HX, AY, HY. Everyone should be compressed into the one now. If you are not, please let me know. I know who to talk to get it fixed. Just if it continues to be a problem, just email me. As you can, excuse me, go into that classroom, wait for the lovely basement internet. We've got 2 sections already set up for you guys. Course info, that's where all the wonderful boring things that we only talked about once go. Within the course info tab, this is actually just the syllabus again posted into this tab. The document for the syllabus is right here. You can save it as a file if you want to. I'm opting against printing off copies and handing them to you just to cut down on person-to-person and paper-spreading contact at the moment. So right now the syllabus is just virtual, but as you go into Brightspace, it's there. And the only pieces of information you would need off it that are different from last semester are my info. I got my name, my office, which I pasted a visual guide as to how to get there on the end because I found no good way to describe it quickly with words. From this room, if you turn out to the left and then down that side hallway like you're going out onto the green, there's that weird little alcove on the right there that has a fridge and a table and 3 small offices in it. I'm one of those. And I try to do it as best I can onto here. It's labeled as 103B. There's also my name is on the door. So that is where I physically am if we say you need to talk. There's a couple other classes that meet in here, so sometimes after a class, I have a whiteboard in there, we might talk there about examples if you need any help. So if I'm not in here, I'm either there or I'm off campus. And I have a sign on my door telling you if I'm gone so that you can just send me your emails instead. Please send emails if you have questions. I know a lot of professors, their inbox is just a swamp. It's not their fault, they get too many of them. I have made it a principle in my life to check them frequently. They are routed straight to my phone. So please send them to me. The only reason I won't answer them timely is if I am driving to sleep. Speaking of email, that address is right up there at the top. It is first initial, middle initial, and then most of my last name. And the website listed there is the YouTube channel that I upload all my video recordings to. So there's a camera in the back now. I've made a habit of recording the lectures and posting them there so that if you need to go back and listen to something or If you miss a day, you can find whatever you missed there. I know the audio quality on that camera specifically is not the best. I'm trying to get something better, but that option exists if you miss a day, which happens frequently because I have a lot of athletes and other things happen. If you do need to miss something, that is okay. Don't panic. Just tell me, and you don't need to apologize. Really, I don't mind if I don't take attendance. I'm not particular about people being here every single day as if it's your duty or something. Your job is to pass the class, and some people can do that asleep in their dorm room and then just cramming before the test. I don't advise it. Don't advise that, but I'm not going to force you to be here, especially these days with the virus. So, that is where the recordings will be. I don't take attendance. If you just miss a day, you will be fine, but you are responsible to learn the material. You can watch the recordings, talk to me, talk to your classmates, notes, right? And the notes, the slideshows I use will be on this Brightspace page as well. I've already got the first batch up here. So you will always have these whether or not you come to the lesson. You have them, and I encourage you to follow along with them if you're watching the recordings. This is the schedule. This is E section, so we meet 3 times a week for 1 hour. That's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 10 a.m. And everyone signed up for a different lab section, so everyone in this room might have a different lab time. If your section is EW, that's the Tuesday one. If it's EX, that's the Wednesday one. EY is the Thursday one. There's no Friday lab option for this class. Just too few people didn't need bother with it. I also don't mind horribly if you just attend a different lab section. If there's a scheduling conflict or if you just need to change it, that's fine as long as you attend lab and do it. I'm not bothered when you show up during the week, especially as long as there's enough people in the right numbers for everyone to be able to have preferably a lab partner a responsible distance away. Yes?
Will we have lab today?
No. Thank you. There is no labs this first week. I think that's a school. If not, it's a departmental rule, or at least something we just decide each year. First week back, I need time to calibrate the labs for this semester and adjust things anyway. So I don't want us to rush into it first week back. Everyone is still figuring out. Yes?
Do we have like a calendar with like timeline of like, blah, 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 this is your test date? Like,
ideally, yes. I am scatterbrained and I haven't exactly figured out what day the test is yet, but that is my plan. My goal is to be able to tell you very soon when both of the tests are. I just don't have that yet because I've been running between 3 different towns with my head, like my head was cut off like a chicken. I promise that information is coming very, very soon because I want you to have it so that you know about it in advance and you plan around it. So you will know that. Thank you for asking. Know what lab section you're signed up for, and if you're not going to, if for some reason you can't come to that one, tell me. If you missed because of sick or athletics, that is fine. We'll figure out when you can make it up if you do need to make it up. Yes?
wait, by not having live, you mean we don't show up or we're not gonna?
This week, you don't need to, there is no lab at all. You don't show up and there's no assignment. Next week, I'm planning for us to begin next week. In general, if like a holiday cuts off Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, why did I say it in that order? If a holiday cuts off Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, I'm more likely to just cancel lab that week so that one section doesn't get ahead of the other. That said, I don't think our current model cuts off many Tuesdays or Thursdays, but if it does happen, no lab that week. I will tell you when there is not lab. Other than this week, there will usually be a lab. I encourage, yes?
Does that include test weeks too?
Probably not, actually, especially because, yeah, the physics department in general has been liking to take tests out of the lecture times, so that those are more for learning and review. And one of the reasons I don't know when the tests are yet is I'm still working on what I can do with the tests right now, because last semester I had like 50 students, and it was very hard to get them all in the same place 6 weeks apart to take a test at the same time. But this semester I have a grand total of, where'd it go? 14 of you. So getting everyone together to take it in the same space might be slightly more viable.
Is this your only class?
I teach 2 sections of 1510.
There's 7 of us in here.
Yes, there's 7 of you in the other. But I also have a different lecture for a different physics class as well. That said, I'm fine with small class numbers because that's less to grade. And it's easier for me to actually know you as individuals. God, I can't remember all the names. So, test info is coming. I'm favoring it being outside of the class. If we do it online, just for safety's sake, it'll go up one day, and you'll have, you choose a bank of time within a span of time to do it.
Will it be on Brightspace or will it be on the website?
I'm still working on that as well, because I've given one exam over quarantine on WebAssign, and last semester I had to use a different program for a different lecture. So I'm still compiling disparate thoughts on the subject. I would be favoring WebAssign just because your answers are all there, but as a general rule, if we do end up doing virtual tests and exams, I encourage you to send me pictures of your work, because I grade incredibly well for partial credit. So if the questions are given to you over WebAssign, if the answers are submitted through WebAssign, you're still going to send me pictures of your work through email. Because normally we have you take a paper test, and I'd have your work there. I'm not going to cheat you out of those partial points because we have to do it through the computer. So the likely model we'll be moving towards is WebAssign tests and probably exam. But you will send me your work. You'll choose when within a bank of days that you started, and because it's WebAssign, everyone will have different random numbers. Yes.
On WebAssign, like, what's the difference between the Cengage Unlimited and just purchasing it for a single term?
I don't really know, because it has been at least 6 years since I was a WebAssign customer student. Being a teacher, I obviously have a different set of panels to deal with. So I don't actually know, because I haven't had to purchase anything to act as an instructor.
I think one gives you the like e-text, and the other one
I thought
just
that was
gives
standard.
you like I guess, where you can do like assignments and quizzes.
Well, all you should need is this semester. If you bought a year for last semester through this one, then you're fine. If you only got one semester last time, or if you're picking this up after a break, you just need the one semester through this one class. Speaking of WebAssign, since we've already kind of began that topic, where is my cursor? There you are. Yeah, most of our assignments will be through WebAssign. The exceptions would mostly just be labs. But I'm going to try to put all of your grades visible for you on WebAssign. I'm going to try to figure out a way to show you your lab grades through there, so you have them compiled in one place with your other grades, and you can average them for you. So, I know it's been 2 months, we're all a little bit rusty, but this is your code to get into WebAssign for this class. It should look and read, I'm not inactive, Cengage. Something like this, Physics 1510, section E and H, because it's one section for both of my lectures. Spring 2021, the first assignments are already there, so if you're not already registered, when you register, make sure you can see these two things. And this is the code to be able to get in. It is on the syllabus on the Brightspace page, but you're welcome to write it down, 54076042. That should just get you in as long as you have your access. If you don't have your access yet, I think you can get in for a couple weeks without having to pay for it yet. But this will get you in there. Homeworks and quizzes will still be through WebAssign. The scoring rubric for the course grade should look pretty familiar. Homework and quizzes are both a very tiny amount of your grade because you're meant to make mistakes on them. You make the mistakes here, so you don't make them here. So please try them. Please attempt every question. Every attempt nets you something, even if it's not. Missing one question on one homework might cost you 0.01% of your final grade. So do it, make the mistakes, it's fine. Those will both be given directly through WebAssign. We're going to do about a homework and a quiz every week or so. That said, just because we're still getting started, the first homework and quiz are not going to be due 1 week from today, just to give everyone that grace period to get started. I think I've currently got a few for about 2 weeks from today. The next homework set will probably be due at the end of that week, and we'll switch to a 1 per week model by the end of the month. Tests and exam will also be likely administered through WebAssign. They're just going to work like longer quizzes for the most part. But again, I am, as part of the rules, take pictures of your work. We'll send those to me, and either take pictures of them or scan them with a document scanner. Send them to me through email, and I will grade them for partial credit. Which is why on tests and exams, it won't tell you your score immediately. I have it set up to where it won't do that because it's going to be wrong, because it doesn't factor in partial credit. Yes?
Are we, are we gonna have a time limit for our tests?
Yes. But if we're doing them online, everything's going to take longer, just inherently. So I am a fan of giving you 3 hours to take a 1 hour test. At least 3 hours, because in the before 4 times, the department was moving towards a model where we got every student together in one room, everyone took it at the same time, and I just stayed with you until everyone was done, even if that took 5 hours. To try to give you that same amount of time, I try to give you a large amount of time on the virtual assignments, because it takes you even longer to get your questions answered through email. So the tests will all be designed to take you an hour, 50 minutes. They're designed to take 50 minutes, but you have longer because to get your questions answered through email, if you have to go to the bathroom or if it overlaps with dinner or something. So exactly when the tests are will come soon, but most of this test and exam information is summarized here. And so the only thing that probably won't be through WebAssign is the labs themselves. labs are going to vary depending on what the lab is and depending on the health situation of the campus. Because last semester we had to break for like 1 or 2 weeks in the middle. Under normal circumstances, the assumption is you come in, go to the same room, you have the experiment, equipment is cleaned between uses, and you just submit your report by the end of the session. That would be different than how you did it last semester. I'm still combing through Dr. Rodenkor's notes about how he did last semester. This is a much smaller class from before, so I think having the normal times would be more simple because the rooms will be pretty much empty anyway. I'm going to try to favor a more typical lab room model, but because each lab section might only have 3 people in it anyway, it's fine if that group of people comes in, stands on opposite corners of the table, and does their work together. Since there's so few students, I don't feel an extreme need to do the scheduling issue as before. I think he had you sign up for a time block, which I want to make things as consistent as possible, but I have yet to decipher how his system worked from the third-hand information I've been given. So for right now, we're going to move towards a more slightly normal lab setup, and if we need to break for like a quarantine week, labs will be done through simulators online, or whatever that week is. But lab will resemble sort of a more typical, hopefully more typical physics PC lab style to come in, work the experiment, do submit a report by the end. They're designed to be done in, you have 3 hours, but most people finish in 1 or 2. Lab takes up more of the grading quizzes and homework, but they all pale in comparison to the tests in the exam. But there's 2 tests, so each individual chunk is still not that great. What that means is, hypothetically, if you got a 0 on one test, you could still make a B in this class. Physics is hard, but it's also very hard to get an F in here. Y'all gonna be fine. Even if you didn't do any of the homework or quizzes, you could still get a B. Do them, please, but it's possible. The only thing you can't skip is both tests. Then you'd have you'd have a 72. I'm not good at mental math. You'd have an 8. Okay, you'd have a 62. That'd be bad. Don't skip both tests. For a math minor, I'm not good at quick math in my head. It's a professional weakness of mine. Syllabus is available on the Brightspace page. Please refer to it for any of this technical information. I expect most of it is the same as before. I don't want to spend too much time beleaguering that point. Most of the differences are lab setup, web assignment rules, and things pertaining to me in my office specifically. That said, well, I've got this up. Okay, gotta love PDFs on browser. Pull the link to the document that I have. I'm just copying the YouTube link just so that you know how boring the channel is. It's Prof. Physics, and every new video will just be how to do it. It's just the database. If you don't need them, you don't have to spend your time on them, but here they are. They will be here. This is last semester's. These will not be new. New ones will be added in coming days. And you've already asked very good questions to get me through most of the rest of these miscellaneous announcements. No on that this week. First homework and quiz are already there. I encourage you to go ahead and look at homework 1, because the sooner you open the tab, the sooner it'll be to continue it. They won't be due for probably about 2 weeks, just as we get started again. And general rule quiz should always be done after the homework, because it's sort of like a mini practice test. You want to use the homework to practice before the quiz. Any questions?
How
Yes.
much time are you gonna give us for quizzes?
Quizzes, I think okay, I'm pulling a lot of what I consider standard from when I was a student, actually, so it might be worth me actually rechecking that information with the department. Quizzes are designed to take 20 minutes, but the timer is for an hour. But that's an hour from when you open the tab, not an hour like in the window. So if you close the laptop, the clock is still ticking. Anything else? Okay. We are reaching the end of the period, and I don't want to take up too much of. I don't have anything on Mondays, so this always feels like the first day of the week to me. Tuesdays do. So I'm frequently going to come in on a Tuesday and ask how your weekend was, and treat it like the start of the week. So just to go ahead and explain that weird sense of time dilation for me. So for me, this feels like the first day. I figure most of you guys have been running around learning since yesterday, though. For me, it feels like the first day. I don't want to bog you down too much after looking at a syllabus again. Hooray, everyone loves those. But at least to get the gears turning for what we're going to be doing the rest of the next month and a half. We're using the same textbook, the Survey physics book that you should already have. You don't necessarily need the physical copy, but if you have it, you can refer to it. It's the same book, and we're going to be sort of jumping around in between the chapters that you've already done. The first chapter that we are covering is technically chapter 10 in that book. We're going to be looking at thermal physics, which is to say the study of thermal energy and hot and cold. And to just the beginning segue, you studied energy last semester, correct? In some different forms. The statement that energy cannot be created or destroyed should sound familiar to you. Does that not sound familiar to anyone? Okay. So, as we get into this in the next couple of days, I guess I'll see you next Thursday. I will see you for Thursday class. So I feel like I have to repeat myself constantly, and that's probably just more annoying than anything else. And then I doubt myself, and then I just get off on a tangent. Hello, how are you? So, thermal energy is just another form of energy. You've already looked at these three. You talked about physical work and how energy is used to do work. Thermal energy is just another form, so it's still energy, it's still measured in joules. We're going to treat it like the energy you've already been studying and doing math for. Same unit, same properties. The difference is, the forms you've been looking at before are considered mechanical, because something is physically and mechanically happening and can usually be observed with your eyes. Kinetic energy, something is physically moving, you can see it go. Gravitational potential, it is some height above the ground, you can see that difference. Elastic potential, you can see the coiling and elasticity of a spring or a rubber band. Thermal energy is different in that it's even harder to see. You already can't see energy. If you look at a light, you don't see energy, you see what something is doing with that energy. So thermal energy is even harder to detect with your eye. As with all energy forms, you can only see what something does with that energy. And Thermal energy is unique in that it tends to be a byproduct of these. Whenever you do a physical task, you are usually transferring between different types of energy. If I do work to lift my water bottle, I'm doing work, I'm using energy in my arm to elevate this water bottle and give it GPE. But the machine of meat and bone that is my arm is a flawed, imperfect thing because it is made of matter and tendons that slide across one another. Because it is a physical process, odds are if I did like 11 joules of work here, only about 10 joules of GPE actually wound up in the water bottle. Every single physical process, every time one piece of matter moves across a different piece of matter, you're going to lose a tiny piece of energy to friction. You can feel this intentionally if you ever just do this. On a cold day, you've probably done this once or twice. What does this do to your hands? Warms them up. You're basically intentionally creating thermal energy from kinetic energy by way of friction. Every single thing, every action that can be done causes some of these to turn into a little bit of this every single time. It's still conservation of energy, it's just changing states. And we're going to begin looking at what this is, what objects do when it has thermal energy, etc. So the beginnings of temperature and heat next time on Dragon Ball Z. That's just okay. Thank you all very much. Yes, good time. If you have any questions about the class, any of the mad things that I've said today, because I know I ramble a lot, please let me know. And email me anytime. I try to be very prompt on those. Thank you all for a good day, a good week, and a good start to your semester. Safe drive. It was very rainy when I drove here today.